What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update. And today we're going to take a look at loose, complete action figures and vehicles. Lots of vehicles in this video. There were some auctions for a lot of really nice looking vintage Kenner Star Wars vehicles. And as you can see by this thumbnail, the rare orange caped squid head sold. And all it is a discolored cape, but it's very desirable when that cape is so uniform and it turns that uniform orange. So the price was pretty surprising on there. And then I also got some Last 17 figures and I think a Droids figure or two. So I just want to say thanks to my Patreon supporters. I've had a few new Patreon supporters here recently. Appreciate you guys. I'm still working on getting those buy it now alerts back. I've been sending out a few just as the thank you to you guys, but I'm working with eBay to try and get my account set back up. But in the meantime, I'll just kind of send you guys ideas with the straight eBay links where I can. So let's take a look. I got a couple of 12-inch figures that sold. The first one is a Han Solo 12-inch complete with the box. It was not mint and seal box, but it was basically unused content. So you can see how clean that Han Solo looked. He's got his blaster pistol. He's got his boots. He's got his sparkling nice vest. He looks straight out of, you know, a 1970s disco with that outfit. And he's got his medal from the Battle of Yavin ceremony. And it was listed for $550. All the paperwork, the box was in decent shape, although it did have some writing at the top of the box, unfortunately. But it sold, again, it was listed for $550, free shipping, and it sold for $425. And what you're really buying there is a mint complete 12-inch figure that is unplayed with all the paperwork. Very, very nice example. So $425 took that one home. And then obviously IG-88, we know how expensive the 12-inch or really the 15-inch IG-88 is. And it was no longer sealed, or if it was sealed, it was barely hanging on, but it was still in the box. And it was at auction with a starting bid of $1,000. And I was curious to see if it would actually sell or not. And one bid came in at the last second. So $1,000 took home that IG-88. For recent data points for a loose complete 15-inch IG-88 without the box, I've seen as low as kind of like $750. Usually they sell kind of $850 to $900. So it's a very, very expensive figure. And again, that one included the box. Hard to tell if it was still sealed. It looks like right here that the seal had come loose. So, you know, let's just treat this one again like the Han Solo as unused contents with a box that was already opened. Next up, we've got an incredible condition, according to the listing, and I have to agree with them, is a a Hong Kong Boba Fett. So look how clean the paint is on this one. One little spot of probably paint overspray on the kind of the crook of the elbow there, but otherwise a very clean figure. Looks like maybe on the shin there's another kind of overspray on both shins there. Probably 80 plus grade would be my guess on that one, and it sold for $122.50. So, you know, again, Boba Fett's not hard to find exactly, but to get one this clean, and it was very, very clean, is tough to do. For ones that maybe are not quite as clean as this, I've seen as low as kind of $75 to $80. This one sold again in an auction for $122.50 plus $5 shipping. Next up was a beautiful Princess Leia, and this one was the two-line Hong Kong. And you can see a little bit of discoloration on the arms, you know, which is common for these Leias, even inside the blister. The torso on this one is a much brighter white versus the limbs, and that's a common defect. The hands were in great shape. Eyebrows, face, everything with really good shape. This is probably an 80 plus grade condition. That one sold for $130.50 plus $5 shipping. And this seller, Midwest Vintage Toys, I've never bought from this seller before. I've highlighted a few of the items over the years, but they always get really nice stuff in. And I think I've got some vehicles that they sold here in play sets. Here's one, the Dagobah Action playset, and the foam was in still really good condition on this one. It included the box as well as the instruction sheet, all of the accessories for Yoda's home. That one sold for $169.38 in an auction on 29 bids. That one closed, I think all of these kind of closed over the last few days, 12/7. And I added another $19 shipping on that one. So, you know, let's call that about $190 for a pretty mint-looking Dagobah playset where the foam has not degraded yet. And it's amazing to me that this one is still in incredible condition. I mean, usually the foam starts to kind of just fall apart and crumble. But this one looks like it's straight out of a factory box. So pretty awesome to see that. Next up was the Star Wars box along with the X-Wing Fighter. This is the long play logo. So this is the original, or one of the original versions of the X-Wing Fighter. A little bit of yellowing to the body of that one, which is common. That one sold for $131.50, which I thought was a really good deal there. $131.50 for admittedly a tatty box, but the X-Wing himself looked to be in pretty decent shape there. $131.50 plus $19 shipping. Here was the TIE Interceptor without the box, although it looked pretty clean. Some dust and things like that on the wings there. You can see right there, it needs some cleaning. So what I found with vehicles like this, where you have kind of like this kind of dust and things like that, just use a wet Q-tip and kind of gently glide it along there, and that avoids getting water on the stickers and prevents those from getting damaged. But this one just looks like it needs a good cleaning. $148.50 took that one home, plus $10.99 shipping. It also had a B-Wing that had the stickers applied and in really good shape. Pretty easy to find the B-Wing, and the price kind of reflects that. $147.50 on that one, plus $20 shipping. He also had the ATST, 100% complete. One thing to always look out for in the ATST is the head can start to yellow, and this one looks like it's starting to yellow. You can see around the seam there that holds that head together. It looks like it's starting to kind of fall apart there, and it looks like either the stickers have fallen off the eyes or something going on there. So it wasn't perfect by any means, but it's certainly a nice display piece, and it sold for $103.50 plus $11 shipping. This is a different seller, Wheeljack's Lab. We've talked about this seller in the past. I've never bought from him, but this is the battle damaged Imperial TIE Fighter, and it looked to be really clean. You can see how good the stickers look in this photo here. I mean, the stickers look super fresh on that. So very nice example. Tough to find that battle damaged TIE Fighter. And that one sold for $120 free shipping. Pretty good price on that. Next up was a Slave One. The box had been opened. You can see kind of a extra piece of tape added there on the box. But the Slave One itself was in really great condition. None of the stickers looked to be peeling at all. And it did include the Han Carbonite. That one sold for $260 plus $10.80 shipping, along with the box, which the box was in great shape. It just had already been opened before. So I thought that was a pretty good deal, just given what I see these sell for on Facebook sometimes. I mean, $260 for the box, along with a pretty clean-looking Slave One. You can't beat that price. All right, here we go. Here is the rare Hong Kong Orange Cape Squid Head. Now, if you see rare, it's only rare in the fact that it was so uniform in the discoloration. This was not a variant that was released by Kenner, okay? This was actually a degraded brown cape or whatever. You know, the standard Hong Kong, they just start to degrade over time. But when you get them so uniformly orange like that, that is where people really are willing to pay a lot of money for them. And I see them for sale occasionally on Facebook, usually like the Rebel Hideout or some of those other Facebook groups, where when it's this uniform without any kind of splotchiness to the cape and it turns that kind of bright orange color, it's very desirable just to have it. And I see some people, like my friend Lee, he had like a whole lineup of all the different shades of the squid head cape in different varying degrees of degradation. You know, everything from green all the way down to kind of this orange color. And it's pretty cool to see them all lined up. So there are focus collectors that like to collect these squid heads where the cape has discolored, especially when they're nice and uniform like this. So it sold for $255. So, you know, again, I'm not saying that that's an unfair price. I'm just saying that keep in mind what you're buying there really is a degraded brown cape squid head. And if you sent one of these into the graders, they always grade it 75 every time. I've seen them graded before. They're not going to label it as orange cape. They're just going to label it as a standard Hong Kong squid head, and it always gets a 75. That's been my experience looking at eBay and Facebook and things like that. But they are desirable. They are desirable from a certain subset of collectors. But I wanted to show it because it's pretty cool. I see them sell usually around this same price point, $225 to $250 is about what they usually sell for when they're that uniform. This was a stunner. Star Wars Galaxies is another seller that I see commonly. I've never bought from them, but they had apparently two of these radio-controlled Jawa Sandcrawlers, and one of them, or two of them did sell. So he had three of them. And, you know, I don't know if you're getting the exact same item, so you need to make sure that if you decided to go after this last one he has available, that you get photos for the actual item that's being sold. But they showed this one. It included the insert, all of the instruction sheets, a used sticker sheet. You can see all of the different paperwork there. It's 100% complete. The box on this one looked to be pretty good, except for that top corner. And it sold for $3,200. $3,200 free shipping. That's a big number. That's a big number. I've seen them mint complete without the box and without the inserts and anything like that sell in that $1,200 to $1,600 range. But this one did look super clean. And again, they said they had 3 of them available, but you know, I don't know. You can't just show one photo and say I've got 3 of them available. You got to show the actual item you're buying when you're charging $3,200 for it. So if for some reason you do want to spend $3,200 on a Jawa Sandcrawler, make sure you ask the seller for updated photos for the one that is actually still for sale. That always bugs me on vintage items when they say I've got 3 of them available and then they show one of them. You got to show the one that's actually for sale. But apparently 2 of them did sell for $3,200, and it's certainly one of the more desirable vehicles. That's a big number though. Last 17 figures. We've got another Luke Battle Poncho. This one sold for $330, which seems high to me, given that I've covered fairly recently a mint on card that's by no means perfect, but a mint on card version of this figure on the Power of the Force card sell for $400 to $450. So to me, $330 for a loose complete figure is too much money. $330 for an AFA 85 that's already been graded, yes, I could see paying that money. But I wouldn't pay $330 for a loose complete last 17 Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho, just given that mint on cards ungraded are going for $400 to $450. Here was a Luke Stormtrooper. No idea if this is the correct black blaster or not. It looks like it to me, but what do I know? But it sold for $352.85 in an auction on 28 bids. Obviously, there's yellowing to the Luke Stormtrooper, which is a common problem. But, just double check the Imperial Gunnery website to make sure that the weapon is the correct one. It's a common debate that some of these came with the blue-black blaster. I've heard from some people that say, hey, I've got a mint on card where it doesn't have the solid black blaster. So take that for what you will. I don't get into that debate because I don't care. But the one I've got in my Tri-Logo has the black blaster. But I've heard that some of them do have the blue-black blaster packed in with the Luke Stormtrooper on mint on cards. $352 seems like a fair price, though, just given the condition issues. This is probably like a 75 grade. Next up, same seller had an Imperial Gunner. That one sold for $270. $270 seems like a pretty good price. I don't know what the emblems look like. Let's see. The emblems look pretty good. You also got to look at the belt. The belt looks pretty clean. So prices are coming down slowly but surely on even the last 17 figures loose complete. $270 seems like a lower number to me than what I'm used to. So that's a pretty nice looking example, though, for the Imperial Gunner at $270 in an auction, 32 bids. A Monoman, this one sold for $238.50. That's also a number that seems lower to me than usual. This one looked pretty clean, and you can see maybe some light scuffs to the hands, especially on that bottom hand right there. It looks like it's got some scuffing there, but the forehead looks pretty good. No paint chips there. $238.50 seems a little bit lower than what we're used to. So maybe the last 17 prices are finally starting to come down a little bit. Barada's always been coming down. He's been one that's fairly easy to find. This one looked to be in probably 80+ condition overall, based on the photos. Let's see the back. The backpack is where you got to look. Backpack looks pretty good. Looks pretty good on him. I bet this would grade like an 80+. And that one sold for $149.95. The AFA 85 sell like $225 to $250 right now. So $150 for, an ungraded one that's in pretty near mint minus condition. I think that's a pretty fair deal. Got 2 different General Landos that sold. This one sold in an auction for $265, and then this one sold in an auction for $256.85. Now this one has got obvious yellowing to the torso. So this one was an overpay. Look at the obvious yellowing. You can even see it on his neck, kind of right below that cape there. You can see what the torso used to look like versus the kind of the very bright, yellowish thing that's going on his torso versus this one where it's much cleaner. This one even has a slight amount of torso discoloration, but this is a much cleaner example, and it sold for $265. This one sold for $256.85. This one was the overpay, though, because this one's at best probably a 70 or 75, just given the bad discoloration. I think that'll get a 70. So don't overpay. Make sure you really zoom in and take a look at them. That's the first time I've actually really seen a General Lando with this bad of torso discoloration. You really got to look at it, obviously, on the Luke Stormtrooper, and on Yak Face is the other one, and also Han Carbonite. And the Lumat is another one. So just off the top of my head, some of these last 17 figures can get some bad torso discoloration. Now on Princess Leia, first 12, it's the opposite, right? You got to look at the limbs, the arms and the legs. Those discolor, and Stormtroopers, those discolor versus the torso. On the last 17 figures, it seems like the plastic that they used for a lot of those, it's the torso that discolors on those versus the limbs. So way off on a tangent there. Here was a Tatooine Skiff. Now this one is advertised as complete with the box. So this one was not mint and sealed box. It included an unused sticker sheet as well as the instruction sheet. Minty fresh though. Look how clean that is. Beautiful example. And it sold for $13.01 in an auction. 40 bids on that one from Toy Scout, who always seems to get big collections in and then auctions them off on eBay. But that was a super clean Power of the Force Tatooine Skiff with a very clean looking box. $13.01 I think was a pretty fair deal if you ask me for that one. I love the box art on that, by the way, just showing Boba Fett getting his blaster cut in half by Luke Jedi. So pretty awesome. That was, I think that's a fair deal, quite honestly. I mean, given that I've seen a few mint complete Tatooine skiffs without the box or the paperwork sell in that almost $1,000 range, to get such a clean box with an unused sticker sheet and all that. I don't know if the inserts were included or not. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But that's oh, it did include the inserts too. So you could make an argument that this is pretty close to a qualified grade. I don't think it is, because I think the struts, the blades came in a baggie. But that is about as close as you'll get to a qualified grade Tatooine Skiff for not much more than what a loose complete Tatooine Skiff sells for without any of the box or inserts or anything like that. So I thought that was a very fair price. And then finally we got another, it's TIG and Sig, was it TIG and Size From, man. They are super, super expensive. This one was a complete figure with the coin as well as a card back. And the figure looked to be super clean, just looking at it, you know, a cursory glance here. Very nice example, probably an 80 plus grade condition, maybe 85 if you're lucky. Usually the back of the calves is where you have some damage, and this one either has some dust on it or there is some paint scuffing right behind that knee there where my cursor is. But assuming that that's dust, this would probably get an 80 plus. It would be my guess on that one. And you also get the harder to find coin with it. So, you know, this is a good way to do it. You could get CAS or AFA to display it with the coin. But that's a really nice example. And that one was listed for $700, and it sold in a best offer accepted of $656. So not cheap. Size From is obviously more expensive. He's hitting over $1,200 graded now. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at loose complete figures and vehicles from the Vintage Kenner line. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.